Okay, we got this is going to be video 37, I believe, and we're going to start out with a clip. This video is going to kind of be a lot about how I came to the conclusions I did in this puzzle. It's probably when you watch this, it just seems like I'm pulling them out of thin air, but it's going to flesh out how I get some of the critical parts of the puzzle. And in this case, we're talking about Carl Jung, Aldous Huxley, Sigmund Freud, and oh my God, I'm forgetting one, and George Orwell. Those are the four men that are used allegorically in this puzzle. So this is one of the clues that we're looking for those four men. And part of the first clue is he's dressed and acts like Carl Jung. But let's listen to this exchange here.
So I take it then that you are refusing to cooperate with Dr. Cutler and this man, what is God?
I am not refusing anything at all, but please understand me. No, I don't want to...
What are you saying, Ben?
I absolutely refuse to have a quartet of strange psychologists nosing around my house.
A quartet of strange psychologists. So there's your four. You have the uncanny magazine, you have the Double Doors of Perception for Huxley, you have the animals for George Orwell and Animal Farm, you have Cure D'Elia is in A Brave New World, and so all of the psychologists that he's using in his allegory, he gives them to you, and he gives you hints to them. So he says the quartet of psychologists. He doesn't want a quartet of psychologists roaming around his home. He's a pedophile, and he's raping his daughter, so he certainly doesn't want that. So what do we got here? Oh, I'm not ready for that. Let's see here. That's what do we want? Okay, let's get to the images. This is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And this is the breakdown of the people that are on the album. So if we look at this list, and you know the puzzle already, and you do a little bit of investigation, you can see that it's using the same language. And I'll give you some examples. Like W.C. Fields was a redhead. Carl Jung, he's in our puzzle. He's right in the scene you just saw. You have Peter Sellers acting and dressed like Carl Jung. You have Edgar Mitchell, Peace on Earth. So you have him. You have Muffley Merkin. Hunsall, I don't know how this fits in. Simon Rodia is interesting, and this is my interpretation, but Simon Rodia made this statue at the Watchtower, and it was made very slowly from he would attach these little pieces of this tower, and it took him 30 years to complete, but it finally was complete. So this is an allegory to this puzzle, that this puzzle is woven together over a long period of time. Bob Dylan, he's in a Billy the Kid movie. He's an alchemist. Aubrey Beardsley does the black and white artwork that a lot of Kubrick fan artwork. They'll use the Aubrey Beardsley black and white style to do it. We have Huxley. He's a Brave New World. Cure D'Elia stars in Brave New World. Terry Southern. This is related to Dr. Strangelove. He was involved in that movie. He shares a birthday. I believe it's. Let me check before I say that. I believe it's November 22nd. There's so many dates now, though. It's hard to say. No, he doesn't. I'm wrong. But anyway, he does Dr. Strangelove. You have Tony Curtis. He was already in the puzzle. He's Jamie Lee Curtis's father. You have Marilyn Monroe was in the puzzle already, a redhead. Stan Laurel was a redhead. Oliver Hardy was a redhead. H.G. Wells is in the puzzle. He's a redhead. Marlon Brando's in the puzzle. Tom Mix is a cowboy. You have cowboys in the puzzle. You have King of the Western, Jack Wayne. You have Tarzan, King of the Jungle. You have George Bernard Shaw. He's in the puzzle. He was an open flat earther. He made comments that people think the earth is a globe and they don't really know what they're talking about. They accept lies. Lewis Carroll, this is the whole bunnies allegory and the mirroring and the doubling and the palindromes and the doublets and triplets. Doublets and triplets, this is something new that I discovered recently. And I'll give you an example of a triplet. A triplet is a person with a name and all three parts of their name are actually threads. So an example of a triplet would be Billie Jean King. Billy's is a category. You have William Shatner and Billy the Kid, and I've made lists of these. Jeans is a category because you have Norma Jean and Eugene Krantz and Eugene Cernan and Buzz Eugene Aldrin and eugenics, and so that's a category. And then King. King is the aces, the kings, the queens, the jacks, the dukes, the princes, the princesses, the King Minos. So, and of course we have a boxer now here as well. So we have boxers. We have the same categories that we're seeing in other parts of the puzzle. And we're seeing here's Shirley Temple, another redhead. Bobby Breen is the Star Trek Breen connection. There could be other connections to this. And of course we have T.E. Lawrence. He translates all of the Greek Odyssey. So the people that are on the Sgt. Pepper's album, and I have not decoded all of these, this is clearly part of our puzzle. So this explains why we were given all the Beatles and the Gold Beetle by Poe and the Red Beetle and the White Beetle and the Yellow Beetle and the Crushed Beetle, and there's a lot of Beatles. And so this is a big part of your puzzle here. This is a confirmation of the people you already found. Like when I found this link, I didn't really know what it was at first. And then I started looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, I already have Carl Jung. I have Edgar Allan Poe. I have, all these people that are on here, Huxley and Jung and H.G. Wells, which is part of our puzzle. Remember, we always have a time travel connection. Also, we see Albert Einstein in here, and I'm not buying anything Albert Einstein said. I believe he was just basically a paid liar. And he needed to explain the Michelson-Morley experiment. And they couldn't really explain it. So he came up with all these wacky things about, to explain why the model wasn't working. Diana Dors, we talked about Jamie Lee Curtis and her melons. Diana Dors would probably be this woman had ridiculous melons, but so there's another link to this puzzle. I'm going to close that one. No, I'm going to cancel. So let's close this. This is Carl Jung again. This is, once again, the entire puzzle works off calendars. So we have the Christopher Clavius crater in 2001: A Space Odyssey. This is the man that invents the Gregorian calendar based on with a leap year. So one small step, one giant leap. We have the Minotaur, and then we have the Minotaur and the Cyclops. It's a man-bear pig. So we see two men, the horns, and a cycloptic eye. So this is Kubrick's Minotaur Corona again. This is an interesting sync here with Twin Peaks. Obviously, it's the One-Eyed Jack's bar, but it's also, it's also the One-Eyed Jack's club. In 2001, Moonwatcher kills One Eye with the bone weapon at the watering hole. So bars are a part of our puzzle as well. And they're clubs. A club can be a billy club, a club can be a blackjack, a club can be a bone club, a club can be a suit and cards, a club can be a bar, like One-Eyed Jack's club. This movie is alchemical, and you need to watch it. If you know this language now, you really ought to watch this tonight, because you'll be pausing it and laughing. So this is the azimuthal equidistant map. It's seen in the movie. Jack Nicholson is in this movie, and he plays multiple parts, and it's very alchemical. Here's Kubrick at the chess and checkers place. So we're given the games clue throughout this puzzle. And one of the guys that's in this movie is, I believe it's Killer, I could be pronouncing his name wrong, but He's Killer Kowalski. He was a professional wrestler, like Jesse Ventura. So we had David Prowse, a professional bodybuilder. Now we have a professional wrestler. We had professional boxers. We had professional football players. We have professional baseball players. We have professional tennis players. So clearly every conceivable channel on Kubrick's television, if it could be done, it was done. And we have the chess again here. And Sterling Hayden. So we have Apollo's sterling silver bow and arrows. I wanted to bring up again, the movie The Killing is about thoroughbred horse racing. So this fits in our puzzle perfectly. And all these older Kubrick movies are now carried by Criterion Films. And if you'll notice, their logo looks very much like Shea Stadium or the Corona or the Colorado flag or the Corona Borealis or the toilet seat. So that's interesting. Here's a birthday clue, Brando. This goes into what I said before, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So you have the Grand Overlook Hotel in Red Room, the 5-time Grand National Champion. You have, I love this one, the 1,000-yard stare. You know, in Full Metal Jacket, he says, "Oh, yeah, I got to get back in the shit." And you know he's full of crap because anybody that's been in the shit never wants to get back into it. And he's like, "I want to get back in the shit." And the other guy knows he's full of crap because he's been in the shit. And he goes, "Oh, you get the 1,000-yard stare." So with that in mind, let's go right here. Oh, God, let's see. This is going to be... It's way on the bottom of here. But there's a video, an interview with Kubrick, and he's discussing how much film he needs to shoot for every minute of film that makes it, for every minute of film that makes it in, how many he has to shoot before you get that final product. And it's a very interesting interview. Here we go. We're probably going to have to watch the commercial. Yeah, mosquito defense. Great.
Buddy, Tyler here.
This is a great video. I'm going to leave a link to this as well. Okay.
It was inspired by Clark's short story titled The Sentinel, which is similar to the Floyd section of the film. In an interview with physics professor Jeremy Bernstein, Kubrick estimates just how much time was spent writing the screenplay.
The thing that does take all the time is to extract, say, 2 hours and 15 minutes of a story and really keep distilling and distilling and distilling and distilling and distilling. I would say that if you count the time that's spent during the shooting day also working on the story in rehearsal and rewriting and so on, I would say that an average of at least 4 hours a day has been spent on this story. Much more than that, because in the real solid writing period it was like 8 hours a day. But let's just say it averaged 4 hours a day for 2 years. Say an average of 6 days a week. That's 24 hours a week times maybe 100 weeks. I'd say there's a good 2,400 hours spent on call it 2 hours and 40 minutes of story. So that's about 1,000 to 1, isn't it?
We start at the...
It's 1,000 to 1. Okay. So that's a clue. And so we have this repeating theme of 1,000 to 1. And like I said, I'm going to leave a link to this video. There's a lot of stuff in here. He's not decoding the puzzle like I am, but he really is somehow alchemically supplying you with a lot of the different things in this puzzle. So let's minimize that. So a picture's worth 1,000 words, and here we have the astronauts in front of their capsule with their Masonic sashes. And they supposedly left the Masonic flag on the moon, too. Here's Billy the Kid's rifle. It's a Winchester Model 77. This is the one we see with Crazy Earl when he's talking about, I want to play General Custer. And he's got a Winchester 77, Model 77. This is John Malkovich again, drawing attention to Diane Arbus, the woman that dies the day Apollo 15 launches, Stanley's 42nd birthday. We have Joe DiMaggio, and he's Mr. Coffee. And we're going to jump this video I'm doing right now is going to jump all over the puzzle. So if you are not familiar with the puzzle, you shouldn't really be watching this video because you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But at the Sharon Tate murder, we have Wojciech Frykowski, and we have Abigail Folger. She's, part of the Folger coffee magnet people. So that's weird. We have the zebra rug. This is Neptune's trident. So Woody Strode is a UCLA high jumper. So Woody Strode is very important to this puzzle. He turns out he marries the Queen of Hawaii. So technically he's the king of Hawaii, but then I think they abolished the whole king and queen thing in Hawaii. So that was very short-lived. But he's our king, and he's King Neptune, one of the Titans. And this is Kirk Douglas. He's responsible for the whole movie. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He plays the first McMurphy in Cuckoo's Nest on Broadway. He buys the story, sells it to his son, or gives it to his son. He produces the movie. So these two men are very tied into this puzzle. Here's Jackie Robinson. He was a long jumper. So Woody Strode is the high jumper. He's the long jumper. Operation High Jump was also, I've heard it referred to as Operation High Jump and Long Jump. So Kubrick didn't want to miss anything, so he included both. And he's number 42, and it's a holiday, April 15th, Jackie Robinson Day. Here's the Lincoln Forest clues again with Pat Garrett was murdered in the Lincoln Forest. Here's the picture I didn't have for the last video. This is Von Braun right here. And these are all the Operation Paperclip guys that are hired to fake the NASA. Well, not really hired. They were given an ultimatum. You come fake the NASA stuff, or we put you on trial. And so obviously they made the right choice, I guess. There's the dead astronauts. Mac Brazel. Corona. The Barbara. I'm going to get into this category, not today, but there's another new category, Barbara, for me. You have Barbara Eden, Barbara Bush, Barbara the Plane. Here's the wicker chairs. These are clues I showed early on in the series. And, the wicker thing was so new, it probably didn't mean a lot to anybody. But now you see him with his daughter in the wicker chair. And you know what this means now. This is the Minotaur and the Matador. Here's Forrestal. He's MJ12. So you have another MJ12 clue. There he is again with the Neptune spear, the trident. This is your connection to MK Ultra, Ken Kesey, MK Ultra, the bull. They wanted to implant a radio control thing in his head. This is, Pippi pointed out that Marilyn Monroe is queen of the artichoke. She's one of the vegetables and fruits that were given. And she's queen of the artichoke for California, which is the missing ship in the Titanic disaster. In the Titanic disaster, you had the Titanic, the Samson, the Carpathia, and the California. And we're given the Titanic and we're given the Samson through Shelley Duvall Sampson. And we're also given Sampson through Will Sampson. He's the tall Indian that's in Cuckoo's Nest. So we're missing the Carpathia and the California. So Marilyn Monroe is queen of the artichoke for California. And you have Jack Torrance. Torrance is a county in California. And you'll have like Jim Carrey. He does Ace Ventura. Ace is a card. Ventura is a county in California. So there's all kinds of little clues. And so this is your MK Ultra connection. And also Penguin Books is interesting. This is a new one I have not mentioned. Okay, so we have Johnny Carpenter. He's the guy that does The Thing and They Live and the Philadelphia Experiment. He does all these alchemical movies, right? So how do we get Carpenter? We get Carpenter because we have the hammers. We have the Apollo hammer drop. We have the planes, B-52. We have the beam, Jim Beam. We have the jackknife. We're being given all the tools of a carpenter. So one of the tools we're missing in the puzzle is the nails. And I'm going to include a link to this video, and I'm not going to play the whole thing because this guy goes into absurd depth and detail, which is really what he needed to do to make his point. But it's a long video, and basically this video is about Eugene Cernan. He's the last man to the moon, and while they're on the moon and they're doing their missions, Eugene and all the other astronauts complain about their hands are tired and they got blisters and their nails are pulling off their hands from all the time they spent on the moon and the gloves and this and that, and his hands are horrible. And then we see him pop out of the capsule after the mission is over, and there's nothing wrong with his hands. He doesn't even have a pimple on them. And so this guy does a video on it. It's called The Hand Job. So we have Hand Job is the guy that is jerking off 10 times a day, Crazy Earl. No, I think Hand Job is a different guy. Crazy Earl and Hand Job are two different people. But Hand Job is the guy that's jerking off 10 times a day and he gets blown up or killed. And, we have this category of Dicks and Cocks and Peters and Johnsons and Mine Shafts and Adams Probes and Peter Projection and all these different clues to Cocks and Dicks and Cream Pies. And then we have the NASA Apollo Hand Job. And that was a really aptly named, the way he named this video, Hand Job, very clever. So I'm going to include a link to this, but it goes through all the times Eugene complains about his hands.
Don't close, don't talk out. Sweet music to my ears.
So they complain about their hands hurt the whole mission, and then we get to see close-ups of their hands after the mission is over, and there's absolutely no scarring or nothing wrong with their hands whatsoever. So the nails are not black and blue, like they said. So they got nailed on this one. So we have our nails category for John Carpenter. And so I'll make a list of the carpentry things. And of course, Jesus was a carpenter. And we have Happy Birthday, Dear Jesus, and Eyes Wide Shut is filmed during Christmas. And, you have Genesis and Adam's Probe and Adam Baldwin and Ken Adam. And so the Snakes and Laurel Garden. You have all the clues to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And this is our nails. We had our hammer, we had John Carpenter, and we had our beam, Jim Beam, we had our jackknife, we had our plumb bob, we had our plane, and we had our level, but we were missing our nails. Smokey the Bear, this is part of the clue set. This is how the puzzle works. When you see smoke, you investigate it because there's usually fire. This is this Discovery ship, Robert Falcon's ship. Let's go here. Okay, this is a freaky one. So we had the zebra carpet, right? We had the zebra, the pony painted to look like a zebra in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Well, it turns out the Titanic never actually sank. The Olympic was the ship that sank. It got rebadged as the Titanic, but the Titanic actually never sank. So, since the Titanic never sank, it was rebadged the Olympic. So during the war, when the war broke out, they knew they needed the Titanic to ferry things back and forth. So they paint it like a zebra to camouflage it. So this picture here is not the Olympic during World War II. This picture here is the Titanic rebadged as the Olympic and painted like a zebra. So that's another bizarre zebra sink. This is Nazareth, hair of the dog. Now you're messing with the son of a bitch. And Jack says, hair of the dog, Lloyd, hair of the dog. It's doubled. This is Nazareth's album, Snakes and Ladders. We see the Sidewinder on the front of it. They're a Scottish rock band. There's the zebra. This is George C. Scott nervously eats Trident chewing gum during his scene in Dr. Strangelove in the War Room. And then Lee Ermey mentions that Pyle looks like 150 pounds of chewed bubble gum. The original name of the lem was going to be Gumdrop. And smoking and cigarettes and Smokey the Bear are in our puzzle. So when I found the Dick Nixon bubblegum cigars, so it's a little clue to gum, ties into his gum clues. This is Operation Long Jump. Here's a saucer clue again. Another Corona card playing cards, made cards. Jackie Lamb, the one-eyed alcoholic, Jack. I'm going to get into him later. The Conehead helmet. The Whirlpool Coriolis clue. The Bell video phone. So we had the Bell video phone call from Dr. Floyd to his daughter. He calls his daughter Squirt. So there's another reference to cream pie, Squirt, Dick. And this is also another reference to the video phone. This is a portable Bell video phone. Of course, we never see this at this World's Fair, but we see it in the movie, so that's interesting. Corona typewriter. Billy the Kid and his connection to Roswell and Corona. Cone crater. And we have weird crater. So we had crazy, weird, batty, fruity, nutty. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Are you out of your fucking mind? This man is clearly crazy as a March hare. And I've made lists of these. There's another UFO clue. We have Jackie Gleason now. And turns out Jackie Gleason was in Look magazine. And of course, it's the saucer issue. This is the clip I just showed you. And also this picture, let me blow this up so you can see it, because it's not really, even in the original, it's not very clear. If you look, there's a teddy bear here. So this is Teddy Kennedy. You have the Minotaur and Matador, or the bull and the Matador picture right here. It's blurry, but it's a bull and Matador. Here's Hawk Films again. Here's a picture of the Anawahi. I can never say that. It's the hotel in Yosemite National Park, and we can see the detail to which Kubrick went to copy it. Looks almost identical to the elevators in The Shining. So once again, he copies this exactly, but he omits the massive pyramid that exists in the hotel. This is Diane Arbus. Dies the day Apollo 15 launches, Kubrick's 42nd birthday. He's smoking this picture, so he's drawing attention to Sue Lyons. And Sue Lyons lived in Laurel Canyon, and for her whole life, I believe. So it's a Laurel Canyon connection. Here's a covered wagon. You know, it was during covered wagon days. Covered wagon days represents a lot of different things. You have Kennedy's covered wagon. You have the Donner covered wagon. You have the wagon in The Shining. They have it's a station wagon, and then it turns into a hand-drawn wagon in the cutscene where they edit out the car stop, which is a clue to Kennedy's car stop, but edited out. This I found. I'm hoping the baseball people will know. I think there's a Kaminsky Park, but I'm not. I got to find some more information on this. This cannot be incidental. There's a reason for it. We have the redhead in They Live. Here's another smoking clue. This is during a scene during Lolita, and they pan over, and there is Claire Quilty. You know, we have another weaving Quilty clue, and he's advertising for Drome cigarettes. And there's the Titanic painted like a zebra. So Huxley is included in the puzzle. We have the 4 psychologists, and he talks about there's going to be a pharmacological method in the future to control people. The pharmacological method is mercury and fluoride and aspartame, and there's a lot of different ways. So this man dies in the exact day, date, and year Kennedy does. So he's in our puzzle, and so he's one of the 4 psychologists. The lemon. Carpet. Alone. So we have a Lone Ranger and the Lone Ranger Theater and the Lone Ranger theme and Lonely Crater and Lonely Hearts Club Band. And there the Corvettes mirrored. Of course, you know, he didn't get quite a perfect mirror here, but. And you got Wayne Brazel. This is interesting. Something to think about. which goes into I don't believe the atomic bomb is real anymore. We have a reversal here. He throws the bone up, and the bone is rotating. I don't know if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. That's irrelevant. But when it reaches its apex, it flips around and it reverses direction. The bone turns into the floating ICBM platform. Well, we know now that no one goes into space. No man has gone there before. We know that. He gives us this in this puzzle, that no man has gone before into space. So if we're shown a floating ICBM platform in orbit around the planet, which is not a planet, it's flat, it kind of lets you know that, gee, I don't think we have to worry about floating ICBM platforms because there's nothing in space. So, yeah, it's the 44 million year jump cut or whatever. But there's more here than just the jump cut. What else do we have? What's this one?
Been writing the screenplay.
The thing that
So the distilling, the 1,000 clues, the Garand rifle, the Grand Overlook Lodge, the Grand Piano, 1,000-yard stare, and it even goes into James Cameron. You have the T-1000 is the name of the Terminator, and let's see if I got anything else in here. Let me close these out, see if there's anything I haven't gone through. We'll look at this before. Okay, here we go. Here's the Sgt. Pepper's Drumhead 1-1 on 1-1 IXE Rodney Dangerfield, November 22nd. Here's clues to in the Austin Powers series. You know, you have number 1 and number 2. Number 1 is pee, and number 2 is poop. So there's your joke. Mr. Coffee, you have Abigail Folger, dies at the Tate residence. You have the Longines chronoscope, all the clues to time and chronographs and Kronos, the god of time, Saturn, also known as Saturn. Comedian category, you're a real comedian. The leopard skin, fake leopard skin dress. This is Squirt, and Dr. Floyd calls her on her birthday, and her birthday is the 217th day of the year. She shares her birthday with Neil Armstrong. I've made lists of these. You know, it's a nexus date, and she wants a Bell telephone for her birthday. This is 1 point perspective. This is the Kubrickian hallways. Tycho Brahe, the redhead with no nose, and let's see what else. And I think that's it for this one. And we come full circle. There's my old NASA helmet I used to wear. And that's it. And I'm still shocked by how many people are catching on to this puzzle and able to interpret it. And I also wanted to thank everybody for thumbing up the videos. It really made a big difference. And that's it. Have a great day.